Hi guys, Jordan from B&B Campers. I'm just going to do your handover video on your McLouis Lagan, and it's a 251. So it's based on the 2004 Fiat Ducato chassis, and under the bonnet here on the left hand side we've got your engine battery. Brake fluid up here attached to the servo just down the back. Engine power steering fluid from here. Your chassis plate is this one just down here at the very front. Engine oil gets topped up through this cap just here at the top of the engine, and you can see there, nice and clean. Just pop that back on. And the engine oil dipstick is the yellow topped one just here down at the front. You then got the some fuses and relays behind this cover just here, but the main box for the fuses and relays is in this box just here at the front. You then got the engine coolant up here in this reservoir, and you can see, I mean, the engine's cold at the moment, so that level there is absolutely perfect. The air filter for the engine is inside this one just here. It's just these 4 screws in order to get that out. And the washer fluid reservoir is over here on the right. On the near side, we've got the diesel filling point, which you will need the ignition key to get open. Not really much to show you inside the passenger door. I very rarely actually open them up. So we've got the freshwater filling point just here on this near side. This is a new cap, so you have got a pair of new keys for this one. I think the old one was just a little bit seized, so we've replaced it for a new one. This vent just here to the right of that says Truma on it is your boiler vent. So all the time that you've got your boiler lit up on gas, you will feel hot air coming out through the bottom of it, and you will see condensation building up underneath, and that is completely normal. It's just because it's a little bit warm outside, colder outside than it is here, sorry. So condensation's building up. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. This locker just here is all of the storage underneath the bed. Now at the moment there are a few bits and pieces in here that we've left behind because, you know, a few of the bits and bobs in here are probably quite helpful for you, but I think we'll remove a lot of it. But there you go. So you have got the brackets here for a bike rack. So you've got the 2 lower brackets and the 2 higher ones up there. So obviously at the moment there isn't one fitted. Previous owners clearly taken that off. But if that was something you wanted in the future, the brackets are already there. You've got the toilet cassette locker. So to actually remove the cassette from the locker, we lift up on the yellow tab and pull the cassette towards us. We can then take the cassette all the way out. It does show you on here how to use it, but if I just show you, you've basically got the draining point just here, which is this yellow cap. And then when you're actually draining it out, or emptying it, you should be holding down the little yellow button there at the back. The blue fluid goes in here once you've emptied it out, and about a cap full of blue fluid goes in. So that's all you have to do with that. At the very back here as well, we've got your wastewater drain off handle, just there. So basically at the moment that's in the closed position. So if I pulled that handle towards me, all the wastewater from the tank would drain out onto the floor. The fresh drain should be in or very near to the tank, just underneath this forward facing seat here. But to be honest, the waste drain is more important really. On the off side here we've got the hookup point, so I've got the hookup plugged in at the moment, so you can see that. And underneath that we've got this large gas locker. At the moment you've got one new 6 kilo propane bottle in here. Relatively new looking regulator. I reckon we've probably put a new one on that. And the pigtail hose looks pretty new as well. But to be honest, all you need to know really is how to turn these bottles on and off. So we go anti-clockwise around to the left, turns the bottle on, and clockwise around to the right, turns it off. I'm going to leave it on for the moment because I've got a few bits on in the van. But you do need to know that you need to switch this gas bottle off before you start driving, and that's really important. We've then got a couple of vents just here. These are all to do with the fridge. So the actual vent for the exhaust on the fridge, so if you've got the fridge lit up on gas, is this one just here. So this top vent is normally where the heat would come out from, but it's actually this one here because you've got a Vetrofrigo fridge in this one from new, which is obviously what the manufacturer, McLouis, wanted to do at the time. So this is where you'll feel warm air coming out from, which I can at the moment if you're lit up on gas. Otherwise, you just take these two vents off to get to all of the back of the fridge, basically. We have just yesterday fitted this new awning. So it's a Fiamma F45 and it is actually a 3-meter awning. I was thinking that we were going to have to fit a 2.5, but this is actually a 3-meter, which is obviously a lot better, really. So that is there, all nicely done. The awning winder, just before we carry on, I've put it up here. And the only reason I did that, normally you'd put it here or by the side of the door or something, but there's not really any space for it. So I thought up there would look just as good. So hopefully you're happy with that. Okay, so inside the actual cab, it's pretty straightforward in here, really. So you've got the factory fitted head unit up here, hazard lights from this middle switch just here, and all of your heater controls underneath that. You've got the 5-speed manual gearbox. To get to reverse in this particular one, you lift up on the back here and then push up and over to the top left hand side. Lights and indicators are on the left hand stalk, washers and wipers are on the right. You've got the bonnet release handle just down here above the clutch pedal, and your steering column adjustments just here to the right of that. The two new keys for the freshwater filling point are those two just there, and you've got your electric adjusting mirrors from that little joystick thing there. As for the cab, I think that's about it, really. Both of these front seats do swivel round, so you've just got these little bits just here which then allow them to swivel or go back to where it needs to go to. So that's about it for the outside. I'll just jump inside and show you what we've got going on in here. So really nice layout in this van. I mean, it's a nice short vehicle, but you still get a nice good sized fixed bed, proper over the shoulder seat belts with the two forward facing seats. So this has always been a popular layout. We used to sell McLouis brand new sort of 20 odd years ago and longer, and these were always popular. So yeah, right, so just here above the cooker we've got your control panel. So if I just switch this light off for a sec just so we can see it a bit easier. So the control panel couldn't really be any easier. It's very, very, very simple. So essentially what you've got is a symbol over here, which is to tell you when the hookup's plugged in. So because I've got the hookup plugged in at the moment, we've got this little green light there saying that it's working. We've then got this little switch just here, which gives us the levels basically. So this is going to tell us the leisure battery voltage. So full power in the leisure battery, which we can expect really because the hookup's plugged in and the charger is working. So that's why it's full power. Press and hold on it again and it will tell us the fresh water level, which is this scale here. So we've got 1/3 of a tank of fresh water. And if the waste tank was completely empty and needed emptying, we'd have this little symbol here come on. Okay, so that's all this section here. And the only other two buttons on the entire thing are the water pump and the lights. Okay, so the lights switch here is kind of like a main on and off switch, if you like, because that will turn off this water pump switch as well. But essentially, if you want to come into the vehicle and you want to get hot water and you want to have all the lights on and all that sort of stuff, turn these two switches on just here. And I will just say, it's always good practice to turn the water pump switch off if you're not actually using it. But you know, obviously when you are, switch it on. But that's it. So once you've turned those two on there, you will then have power at everything that has, you know, that requires 12-volt power. So that'll be, you know, your boiler controls, all the lights, the water pump, But yeah, so very, very simple, but very effective and easy to use. So once you've got all those on there, as I said, you'll be able to go around and use any of your lights. There are various switches for various lights around the vehicle, as you can expect. To be honest, you'll find most of those out for yourself. There will be a switch for the lights in the bathroom here. Where that is, I'm not... Oh, it's actually on the light itself. Just there. And there is obviously this one up here as well. So that's a nice bright light up there. Loads of storage over the cab up here, so you've got quite a lot of space up there. TV is over here. You've got the aerial socket going into it already. Now the aerial plug comes from this TV aerial booster over here, which has got a little switch on the top left hand side in order to turn it on, and you will not get any signal coming through that wire, or not enough signal, without having that TV aerial booster switched on. Okay, so if you ever wonder why that isn't getting signal, it's probably because you haven't got that switched on. You have then oh, so you must have one of the fixed aerials. All right, ignore me. Right, so that's where your TV aerial booster is, inside there. You've got a mains powered socket just here, and a Continental one just there, because McLouis is an Italian brand. You know, every now and again you'll find the odd sort of Continental socket and things like that. Right, so assuming that you've got the gas switched on, you will then be able to use the burners up here. Sorry, I was just trying to... Yeah. So all three of these burners, including the grill, do need an igniter or a lighter of some description to light them up, because they haven't got an ignition on them. So, you know, I don't tend to really run through these very much, because it's just literally a case of pushing in and turning, just like a household cooker. There's no, you know, special way of doing it. So, but that's where your 3-burner hob is, and the grill, as I said, is under here. So all nice and easy to get to. Underneath that, we've got your, as I said, it's a Vitrafrigo fridge. I'm probably not saying that right, but they still make fridges now. I think they mainly make 12-volt fridges now. But so the fridge itself is, to be fair, not a bad size. I mean, they do make much smaller ones than this. And you know, if you had any bigger of a fridge, you wouldn't be able to have this grill here. So that's kind of why they would have done that. So what you've got is, on the left hand side, it does say here as well, by the way, it's 3 ways. So it is exactly what it says on the tin, sort of thing. It works in 3 different ways. So you've got gas over here on the right, you've got 12-volt here on the red switch, and mains power on the green. All right, so that is essentially what that means. Simple as that. So if you want to light it up on the gas, I mean, I've got it lit up on gas at the moment, so I'm just going to get down there so I can show you properly. So I've got it lit up on gas at the moment, and I know that it's lit up on gas for a few reasons. One, I've already felt that vent on the outside, and I can physically feel the hot air coming out. So that's, you know, that's proof enough for me. But if you want another way of checking, you can turn it off from the gas valve here, and the igniter should start clicking. Okay, so that igniter clicking there proves to me that the gas has got, the gas flame has gone out, and the igniter's trying to relight. So now if I push in and round to the left again, the igniter immediately stops, because the gas has lit back up. So that igniter switches itself off when the gas flame is on. All right, so that gas is now, that is fully on, and you can just leave that for a couple of hours and it'll be cold. We've then got, as I said, you've got this red switch here, which, by the way, will only work when your engine is running. Okay, so the reason that's not lighting up at the moment is because there's no signal being sent to it from the engine, and that works from your split charger, which I will run you through in a bit more detail in a minute. So engine running, 12-volt on. You've then got the green switch. So at the moment I do have the hookup plugged in, so I can use it on the mains if I want to. And that is all you have to do in order to use it on the mains. You just turn the switch on and leave it. Okay, so the mains power and the gas are the only two ways that this fridge will get cold by itself. Okay, it might get a little bit cold with the 12 volt if you have it on the you know, just for when you're driving, but if you don't pre-cool the fridge before you leave, it's unlikely to be properly cold by the time you get there, just by using the 12 volt. All right, that's the same with all fridges. It's not just this one, it's just the way that they are. So you've then got this white switch, which is supposed to be, I mean, I don't know if it's actually wired up that way or not, but they've normally got a little tiny sort of fan in the back there, which is supposed to help with the cooling from the gas, basically. You know, if it's a really hot day outside and there's absolutely no air out there, sometimes this little fan will help it cool down. But they don't all have that functionality, but there you go. So just a little bit more detail on the split charger, just in case you were interested. So the way it works is the engine itself, you've obviously got the alternator, which charges up the engine battery. Still works in exactly the same way as any car does in this particular vehicle. But what you've also got is, like I said, you've got something called a split charger. So the split charger takes some of that power from the alternator and sends some of it back to the leisure battery, so that all the time that your engine's running and you're driving, the leisure battery is being charged up. So essentially what that means is that when you get to where you're going, wherever that might be, the leisure battery will be fully charged, ready for you to use it. All right, so the leisure battery does anything that's 12 volt related, so all of your lights, you know, pump, all that sort of stuff. But with that split charger, you also get a signal wire being sent to the fridge, so that essentially you can use the fridge on the 12 volt here on the red switch, literally powered by the engine. All right, and that's the only way that you can keep the fridge cold whilst you drive. So that's the fridge, nice and easy. And to be fair, you know, it's, once you've got the hang of using it, you won't even, it'll just be like second nature. You'll just, you know, click a button and it'll be good. So you've got some storage in here, you know, cutlery drawer probably, and you've got your TV controller in there. Let's get down again and see what's in this cupboard. So you've got your gas isolators just here. So you've got at the top there, you've got your 3-burner hob, fridge and boiler, which are actually the only 3 gas appliances in here. So if you wanted to isolate the gas from any 3 of those, you can do so from there. Right, whilst I'm down here, I'm just going to run you through the boiler as well. So the boiler is very, very easy. This is a gas only boiler. So I'm going to switch it off for the moment because I just had it on hot water. So off is the position that I've just put it in just there. All right, so that is the boiler in a completely off position. If I wanted hot water only, all right, because this boiler does hot water and heating. If I wanted hot water only, so I don't want any heating coming out through any of these vents here, I'll go up 1 or up 2. Okay, and that will basically just light up like, you know, like anything else would. And after about half an hour or so, you'll either have 40 or 60 degrees of hot water. Okay, all the time that the little amber light is in there and on, it means that the water is heating up. All right, so up is hot water only, either at 40 or 60. I go back down to the middle, that switches the boiler completely off. If I want hot heating only, so no hot water but just heating, I'd go down once. The boiler will light up again, but we won't get the amber light come up as well because there's no water being heated up. And essentially, a fan will start pumping warm air through to these little vents. If I wanted hot water and heating at the same time, I go down to the very bottom, we get the amber light come back on again. And then when the boiler lights up, which you'll probably hear in a second, it might actually already be on. Yeah, I think that's already... Oh no, there you go. So that sort of noise just there is just the gas being allowed through, basically. But yeah, so that is honestly it. You know, go all the way down to the bottom for heating and hot water at the same time. Heating only is 1 down and hot water only is up. And that is it. So that's how you actually use the boiler. I will just point out, in the locker down here, or under the bed, you've got the little red pulley that you can just about see down there at the bottom. So what that little red pulley does is it allows the water to stay inside the boiler, or tells it to empty itself out. So if you wanted to drain the boiler out from all of its water, all you have to do is push the little red button down. Okay, you just then have to remember to pull it back up again if you want to use the boiler. So if you try and light the boiler up when there's absolutely no water inside of it, you know, you're quite likely to run into problems like overheating and sort of burning out, which you absolutely do not want. So it's really important to make sure that the boiler is actually full of water before you use it. And there is a very easy way of checking. So when you come up to the control panel, turn the water pump switch on. When you first come into the van, it will more than likely start running. All right, the pump will start running and you won't have very good pressure at the taps. That's completely normal. So all that means is that when you've turned that pump switch on, it's not quite up to pressure and there's air in the system still. Okay, so all you have to do in that situation, and to prove to you that the boiler is full, turn the tap on. I just normally start at cold, wait for the pump to kick in. Wait for the pump to kick in. There you go. So now that that pump's kicked in, I can see if I've got water coming through the tap, which I obviously do. Okay, if the boiler wasn't full of water, I would have absolutely no water coming through that tap. All right, so the reason that I know that, the reason that that works, is you've got the fresh water tank down here underneath this seat and the water pump next door to it. Okay, for the cold water side of the system, so when I pull the tap on the cold side, like that, the water is basically being drawn straight from the tank through the pump and to the tap. All right, it doesn't go anywhere else. It just goes straight from there to there. Whereas when I turn the tap and go to the hot side, it goes from the tank into the boiler and then to the tap. Okay, so if the boiler isn't full of water completely to the very, very top, all 10 litres, you will not and you cannot get water coming through the tap. So that is just a 100% sure way of knowing that the boiler is full. And actually, that's the only way to check. All right, so if you don't get any water coming through there at all and the pump is running, then it probably means that your boiler drain is dropped down. So just go in there and pull it up and then try it again. Just leave it running, leave it going until you do start getting water coming through. All right, so that's how you fill the boiler up and that's how you check it. Right, so as part of the habitation check, I have actually replaced both of these blinds back here. So both of these here were a bit stiff and old and, you know, kind of falling apart. So these are both brand new blinds. This one is the original one, but I have taken it apart and retensioned it because it was, you know, it's in good condition. Like the blind part there is all absolutely fine. But there wasn't very good tension in it. So I've taken that apart, retensioned it, put it back. So all of the blinds around the vehicle are either new or retensioned, so working really, really well. Right, so the bathroom, the only bit I tend to run through in the bathroom really is the toilet, because the rest of it's just kind of self-explanatory in a way. So all you've essentially got for the toilet, again, it does show you how to use it just in there. I'll get this shower curtain out of the way a bit. You've got a little pulley down here, which basically opens up the flap that separates the bowl here and the cassette. So this little flap down here is what we're opening by pulling that little handle. All right, so that's how you empty it out into the cassette. And then you've got the blue button back here, which is your pump switch to flush the water around. All right, so that is it. That, you know, doesn't really get much easier than that. And in all honesty, I very rarely actually show you the taps in the shower because it's literally just hot and cold. You know, there's really nothing to it. The only thing I will say about this one is that at some point the cassette in here has been put around the wrong way, so that when you use the tap, you've got to push it in to get the water to come through. So the cassette's back to front basically, but there you go. You'll work that out nice and easy. So that is the bathroom. Just down here, you've got, so as I said, the fresh tank is underneath here. But you've got down here the fuse panel. So it does show you what fuse does what and what size it should be. So you can see there you've got the 2 lights, fuses on the left, water pump, step, igniter, and the fridge. So if you ever needed to get, you know, just if you thought, right, there's a problem with the lights, or some of the lights aren't working, some of them are, probably one of these 2 left-hand fuses is blown. Now, obviously, we are here if there are any issues or any questions you've got for the vehicle. But having this, like, you know, really easy to get to control fuse panel there, it's always really helpful. And you've also got the 240-volt socket there as well. So, just trying to think if I've missed anything out. Main things for getting ready to drive off, because, you know, if you want to look after the van, you should really come into the back of the van first before you drive, just to make sure that everything's stowed away and everything's, you know, nothing's going to break. Now, I will say the windows on motorhomes, and I'm trying to say this more and more now, the windows are getting to be the most expensive parts of the entire vans, which you might not believe, but if you wanted to get a new one of these windows, or if the window broke or whatever, first of all, it's going to take you a good couple of months to actually get a new one. And second of all, it's going to cost you about £1,000 to replace it. So please look after them, is all I'm trying to say. So if you are getting ready to drive off, first things first, make sure that all of your windows are completely locked over the second rung. Otherwise, you will get air coming through them when you're driving at speed. So make sure they're all down like that. Second of all, skylights. The skylights aren't quite as expensive. They're not so bad, but you know, you still don't want it to break. So make sure all your skylights are completely down. The amount of times I see people driving, you know, flying down the motorway with their big skylights open that are about £1,000 each. That, you know, the bigger versions of these, I mean the Heckies, it makes me cringe when I see it. Anyway, yeah. So make sure all your windows are shut, skylights are down. Make sure the gas is switched off, and if you do want to keep the fridge cold, make sure your red switch here is switched on. But that, you know, really, that's about it. Make sure that, you know, if you've got things in the cupboards, make sure they're completely shut properly. It's always a good idea to get yourself some sort of non-slip mats and things like that as well, just to stop things rattling around, really. And there you go. So if there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you'd like going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.